Hi Sobis and aspiring Sobis, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Doyen, and in this tutorial I'm going to be teaching you how to make this beautiful jacket. So if this looks like what you're interested in, then you want to keep watching this video to the end. So for this tutorial you need a zipper of about 30 inches, then you need a cotton rib fabric of about half yard, then you also need a cotton fleece fabric for the main body of your jacket. And for this we're going to be working with 2 yards. So this is what it looks like, and this is the standard measurement I'm going to be working with. I'm working with a large size, so we know for that, let's just get right into it. So the first thing you want to do here is to place your fabric on a fold, then fold in your zipper allowance. So my zipper allowance here is about 1.5 inches. Then on my measurement book here, we have our length as 26 inches. So because I'm going to be adding a waistband to it, I'm going to subtract 2 inches from 26 inches. So 26 inches minus 2 is 24 inches. So I'm just going to add seam allowance of about 1 inch, so that by the time I'm joining at the top side and on the down side, I'm going to be left with about 24 inches. So I'm just going to mark 25 inches as my length measurement, like this, just as you can see me do on your screen. So after that, the next thing is to measure the shoulder line measurement. So because of the kind of design I'm working with, the shoulder line is extended, so I added about 8 inches to my actual shoulder measurement. So what I'm going to measure here will be about 17 inches. So I took out about 0.25, which is meant for my zipper allowance. So what I'm measuring here is about 16.75. So what I'm measuring as the total body circumference here is 16.75. So I'm just going to cut this out. So I want you to understand that this particular jacket has a cut together kind of sleeve design, and so it requires a lot of calculation before cutting. So the next thing here is the back side of my jacket. So I placed my fabric on a fold like this, then I extended the length of the back side of my jacket by about 4 inches, and this is because the back side shoulder line is going to be higher than the front side, and that's because there's going to be a collar around the neckline area. So by the time I'm done sewing, what I'll be having on my length measurement to be extended by about half of an inch. So on this part of my front bodies, I'm going to leave out about 0.25. I'm not going to make it equal on this part of my front bodies because we're going to be adding a zipper allowance to it. So we need to leave out about 0.25, which will serve as our zipper allowance. So while taking my body measurements, I'm going to be adding the 0.25 to whatever measurement I'm going to be adding. So by the time I'm done attaching my zipper to it, we would have exactly the measurements that we need. Next thing here is my shoulder measurement. So my measurement book, my shoulder is 18 inches. So I'm going to divide that into 2. So while measuring that, I'm also going to include the 0.25 zipper allowance. So on this point here, I'm going to mark 9 inches here. So from this point here, I'm going to measure my neckline measurement. So for my neckline width, I'm going to measure 2.5 inches. So I'm going to include the 0.25 zipper allowance while measuring this. Then for the neckline depth, I'm going to come down by 3.5. So your neckline depth can increase to 4 inches depending on how chubby you are. So once I have that marked, I'm just going to go ahead to mark a curve around my neckline. So on this shoulder line area here, I'm going to come down by 1 inch to form a slopey line towards my neckline. So once I have that marked, I'm just going to use my ruler to connect the line towards my neckline, just as you can see me do right here. So from this point here, I'm going to just take my normal armhole measurement. Now mind you, we're going to be extending this armhole. This is not going to be the actual armhole, but I'm just going to mark this first, just to point out something. So I'm going to mark 9 inches, which is the actual armhole point. Then on the center point here, I'm going to measure my shoulder line again, which we measured as 9 inches. So I'm just going to extend this line here, just as you can see me do right here. So on this other part, I'm going to just connect the dots together to form a straight line, just as you can see. So the next thing I'm going to do here is to extend my armhole measurement by 2 inches. So from that point, I'm going to measure 11 inches and make a point on that 11 inches. So basically, I'm going to just form a straight line across on that 11 inches. So this is going to be my second armhole. This is going to be the armhole I'm going to be using for this particular style. So the next thing I'm going to measure will be my body measurement. So my measurements book here, my body measurement is 48 inches. So I'm going to divide that into 4. So we have 12 inches. So I'm just going to add half-inch seam allowance to that. So we're going to measure 12.5 inches as the body measurement. So while measuring that, I'm also including my 0.25 zipper allowance. So I'm just going to measure that on different lines, just as you can see me do on your screen. So once I have all of these marks, I'm just going to be using my ruler to connect these lines together. So one mistake I made here was extending my body measurement towards the first armhole that we created. It's not meant to be extended towards the first one. I should have just stopped on the second one, which is 11 inches. So what I'm just going to do is create a margin on this second armhole that we created, just like I am doing in this video. So this other one here is going to be irrelevant. So we are going to be working with this second armhole here, which is 11 inches. The first armhole is 9 inches, while the second one is 11 inches. So from this point here, I'm going to come out by 1.5. So I'm just going to mark a curve around that 11.5, just as you can see me do right here. So on this other part here, I'm going to measure my actual shoulder line measurement, which is 9 inches. So I'm just going to add about 7 inches to my 9 inches. So what we have here is about 16 inches. I initially wanted to use 17 inches, but I just decided to reduce it. So I'm just going to add half-inch seam allowance to the 16 inches. Then I'm going to mark my point. So what I am marking here is the actual shoulder line measurements I'm going to be working with. So you can either add 7 inches or 8 inches to your actual shoulder line measurement. So once I'm done marking out this point, then on this other point here, I'm going to come down by 1.5. Remember, we came down by 1 inch here. Then on this other point here, I'm going to come down by 1.5. So basically, I'm just going to be connecting these lines together, just as you can see me do right here. So just for a better understanding, the first thing I did here was to measure my actual shoulder line measurement for streetwear. So what I have measured here is 9 inches. Then I extended this line by 7 inches to get 16 inches. And I added 0.5 seam allowance. So we have 16.5. Then on my first armhole, I measured 9 inches. Then on the second one, I measured 11 inches. So the actual one we used was 11 inches. I hope you understand. So I did the extension of 1.5 on the 11 inches armhole measurement. Then on my body measurement, I measured 12.5. So what we have here is 11 inches on my sleeve area. So I hope you understand. So I'm just going to go ahead to cut what we have here. So just like we always do it, on my back bodies, I'm going to slant my ruler and position it like this. So I'm going to measure 1 inch. You can try to measure 1.5 inches just to make the back side higher than the front side. And this is because we're going to be attaching a collar to it. So we don't want to cut it equally. So once I have that marked, then I'm going to come towards the sleeve area and also connect the lines together. Then on my neckline area, I'm going to measure my neckline width as 2.5 inches. Then I'm going to come down by 1 inch, just as you can see. Then make a curve around my neckline. So once I'm done with all of this, I'm just going to cut out what we have here. So after cutting, the next thing you want to do is to notch the center point of your zipper allowance and do the same thing at the downside of your zipper allowance. So the next thing here is my sleeve measurement. So on my measurement book, my sleeve is measured as 33 inches. So how was I able to get this sleeve measurement? I placed my tape on the center point of my neck and I extended it towards my wrist area. So that was how I was able to get 33 inches. So I'm going to subtract 2 inches wristband allowance from the 33 inches. So what I'm going to measure here will be 31 inches. So when I take out what we have left after placing my tape rule on 31 inches, what we have left here is 15 inches, including seam allowance. So what I'm going to cut out as the remaining sleeve length would be 15 inches. I hope you understand. Then on this other point, I'm going to fold this a little bit, which is serving as my seam allowance. Then what we have left is 11 inches. So I'm just going to add about half-inch allowance to that. So what I have here is already placed on a double fold, and what I have on the width part is about 11 inches. Then on the length area, what I have here is 15 inches. So on this upper part, I'm going to measure 11.5 here. Then on my wrist area here, my down sleeve is 13 inches. So 13 inches divided by 2 is 6.5. So I'm just going to add seam allowance to that. So I'm going to measure 7 inches. So basically I'm going to connect this line towards the upper part using my ruler, just as you can see me do right here. So after marking it out, this is what it looks like. So I'm just going to go ahead to cut what we have here. So once I'm done cutting, I'm just going to notch the center point of my sleeve. So this particular sleeve extension is going to be attached towards this area of my jacket. So it is going to be positioned around this area here. So this is what it's going to look like. So the next thing here is I'm going to form a midpoint for the front part of our jacket, because there's a design around that side. So the design requires that we open up this center point. So I'm just going to mark 12.5 here, just like dividing my full length into two. So that is why I'm marking 12.5. So once I have that marked, I'm just going to cut out what I have. So I can decide to just cut out the front part alone, so there won't be any design at the back side, but I'm just going to cut both the front and the back side together. So for you, it can be optional. You can just cut out just the front part and leave the back side. So after cutting, this is what it looks like. So I'm just going to put this aside. So the next thing here is our waistband. So I'm going to be working with this cotton rib fabric. So remember that while we're cutting out the length of our jacket, we took out 2 inches allowance for the waistband. So I'm just going to maintain that same thing here. The only difference is just I'm going to be adding 0.5 seam allowance to this. So what I have measured here is 2.5 inches. So for the circumference, I'm just going to be cutting out something random, because I'm going to be stretching this basically around my waistband. So once I'm done cutting, I'm just going to open up this area here. So this is how I'm going to be folding my cotton rib, and I'm going to be stretching it around my waistband, so you can see how stretchy it is. Next is our wristband. So on my measurement book, my down sleeve is measured as 13 inches, which divided by 2 is 6.5. So I minus 2 inches from my 6.5. So what I have measured here is 4.5 on a fold. So I'm just going to cut this out. So the width, the circumference of my wristband is going to be 4.5, which is what I measured. Then the height of it, that's the length, is going to be 2.5, because remember that we took out 2 inches from the 33 inches full sleeve measurement. I hope you understand. So I'm just going to cut all of this out. So we have 2 pieces of our wristband already, and the width was measured as 4.5, while the length is measured as 2.5 on a fold. I hope you understand now. Next thing here is my collar band. So I'm just going to be cutting a random circumference. So make sure that while measuring your circumference, make sure that your circumference is up to about 10 inches. So for the length of my collar band, I'm going to measure 3 inches here, just as you can see. So by the time I'm done sewing, I'll be able to determine what the circumference of my neckline is going to be. So the final thing I'm going to be drafting out here is the waistband extension. So what I need for the length of this is just 5 inches. Remember that the waistband measurement is 2.5 inches. So on a fold, I'm going to measure 2.5 inches, just as you can see me do on your screen. So I'm going to cut this out. Then for the wideness of my extension, I only need 3 inches for that. So I'm just going to mark 3 inches, just as you can see, and then I'm going to cut this out. So by the time I'm done joining on different sides, I'm going to be left with about 2 inches. So this is what I'm going to be adding as the extension for my waistband.
Hello, I'm super excited to announce to you that our online courses are now available. So if you are interested in learning more about streetwear, you want to know how to make t-shirts, joggers, hoodies, varsity jacket, tracksuits, sweatpants, cargo pants, and so many more, these courses are made for you. The courses are displayed on your screen. So if you are interested in registering for any of these courses, then you want to just click on the link underneath this video to register for these courses. And guys, guess what? These courses are well detailed. You're going to be learning how to identify fabrics, how to match make fabrics, size charts, measurements, and the like, depending on the course you are actually subscribing for. So you don't want to miss out on this opportunity. So kindly click on the link in my bio. Kindly click on the link in the description to actually register for this class. Bye.
So the cutting process of this particular jacket tutorial has taken a lot of time. So I'm just going to be dropping the part 2 of the sewing process in the next video. So see you guys in the next video. Bye.